Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fun and Games Podcast. I'm Geoff Moonen,
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
and another year has come and gone, and even though it's 2018 ended a few weeks ago, our first episode this year, we wanted to cover MagFest, so a little later than everyone else, we wanted to talk about 2018 in gaming for us.
Yeah, a lot of really great games came out last year. A lot of not great games came out last year. We're mostly going to focus on what we played and talk about a few of the staples of the industry as well that neither of us played because, they're probably still worth talking about. But for me, what was interesting is since I, for the first time in a long time, tracked all either the new games I started playing or just the games I started playing this year. And a good majority of them were games that had come out previously that I just never played before. And that's mostly thanks to Steam and the Switch, since the Switch re-released a ton of older games that have been around for a little while, but were never on the Switch.
Yeah, kind of the same thing happened for me. There was also a couple of times where it wasn't just a matter of, well, this is the first time it's on the Switch. I mean, one of the games I was most excited to get last year that I got and finished was Katamari Damacy Reroll, which was absolutely a re-release. It was the first time it was on the Switch, but it was a re-release of a game that came out 15 years ago. But it's one of my favorite games, so
Yeah,
there's
and
that.
similarly for me, I'd been looking forward to playing Okami for a long time, and when they really released the HD collection, I didn't pick it up right away, and then heard it was coming to the Switch, so I held out, and I bought the Switch version, which I ended up playing and beating and loving.
Yeah, there's actually a couple of games that have come out this past year that I am going to play, but I haven't played them yet. One of them being Celeste,
Yes,
which is a fantastic game that I have played none of.
same. Yeah,
Eh,
it's been everywhere in the media, in the video game media, and so many people have sung its praises, and it's been on my list, but not something I've gotten to yet.
Well, I just recently ordered it on Limited Run Games. For those who don't know, Limited Run Games is one of several sites that sort of do short run publishing of games that don't have a physical release. And what they used to do mostly was make, I don't know, 1,000, 5,000 copies of a game, put it on sale, and within 45 minutes, every one of them had been snatched up,
Oh yeah,
which meant a hell of a resale market.
yeah, that's
So,
definitely for sure.
yeah, so what they're doing now is they are running pre-orders. For a limited period of time, you can order it, and I presume I haven't received it yet. I ordered it like a week and a half ago. I don't know how long this cycle takes. I'll report back when I get it.
Sounds good.
But that way, they determine the numbers they get, and so not as many people are left shut out. But I've been very excited to play Celeste, but in my house, we're definitely a big physical release if we can get it kind of family. So I'll get to play a game that came out at the beginning of 2018, hopefully at the beginning of 2019.
Yeah, it's funny. I prefer physical release for like single player games if I can get it, but for the most part, if there's a game that's on sale on the Switch, in a digital version to take advantage of the sale, I will buy it. It's how I ended up buying Starlink, which I started playing this year in 2019. I didn't actually get to in 2018, even though I bought it like at the very tail end when the Switch was having one of their big digital sales. In the vein of Celeste, one of the big newer indie titles that came out last year that I was really happy to play and is one of my top games from last year is The Messenger, which is a side-scrolling Ninja Gaiden-esque action platformer, but the difficulty is definitely, there are hard parts, but it's never so hard that you want to give up like the old Ninja Gaidens.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about it is there's a time travel mechanic, and how they represent it in the game is you go from 8-bit graphics to 16-bit graphics, and the 16-bit graphics are the future, which is really neat. That was easily one of my favorite releases from last year, and it wasn't a major AAA title. I had the most fun with it. I kept going back to it. It's one of the handful of games I beat last year. What was really interesting about the list that I kept this year is not only did I track every game I played, new or old, but I also tracked what games I played, what games I beat, and which games I completed. The only game, and for me, completed means done everything in the game. because on the Switch there's no achievements, so otherwise I guess that would be part of that criteria. And the
Yeah.
only game I completed last year was Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. I got
It was a really good game.
It was, and it was quick too. I think 3 or 4 hours you could probably complete the whole game, and so I beat it with every character. I got every ending. It was phenomenal, and got me really psyched for the full release, which we were supposed to get by now, but haven't, and so on, and so it goes. But that is the only game I completed last year. I beat, I'd say, half the games I played, which is surprising to me. Typically, I tend to lose interest in games if I don't have the right connection to it. I think it also part of it is because at least half of the games that I beat last year were on the Switch, which I could take on the go, and I played a lot more than my other consoles.
It makes it a lot easier, yeah.
One of the other funny highlights about my list is I only played 2 PS4 games last year, the whole year. The rest of it was PC and Switch. I played and beat Spider-Man for PS4, which is still sitting pretty as my favorite game of 2018. And then I started Persona 5, which was fun, but I started to kind of lose interest in. I may go back to, but that was it. I didn't get to play God of War. I had no interest in Red Dead Redemption, as we've talked about before. I would like to play the new God of War after I've heard more about it. I hear that it's more in line with the kind of game I would actually enjoy playing.
I received a copy of it for Christmas. I haven't popped it into the PS4 yet, but
Nice.
I'll let you know how it is.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear. But then a lot of the rest of my list is older games or ongoing games. Like, of course, I have Overwatch on my list and Heroes of the Storm and Warframe. These are all PC games that are ongoing, open world, MMO style games. And so, like, I listed them because I have played them, but, you know, those are games that I'm obviously never going to complete because...
You can't.
Can't. Although I did consider myself completing one of those kinds of games, which is Monster Hunter World, but that's because even though Monster Hunter World is still an online game, there is a main story that you can complete, which I'd say for Warframe, there's probably the same thing, but I didn't really play enough of it to complete that. But it's always interesting to just track the games that I've played and to see, like, I've only played 33 games last year. There were definitely more than 33 games that came out last year, for sure.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I played a little bit of Monster Hunter World. I let myself get talked into buying it.
Uh-huh.
Monster Hunter is a series that I've always been interested in, and I've never played any of the previous entries. And I almost feel like I should play a couple previous entries before returning to Monster Hunter World. I put maybe a couple hours into it, and I just felt lost. And I looked up a little bit about what to do. I played online with my friend Sean a little bit, but it was just a general, like, this should be grabbing me. I know this should be grabbing me. It isn't. And so it's just kind of sat on my shelf all year.
Yeah,
But I want to give another shot.
The problem with Monster Hunter is that while there is a story, the mechanics of the game are not necessarily driven by the story, and especially Monster Hunter World does rely on you having a little bit of previous knowledge. I feel like one of the older ones for the Wii U or for the 3DS might be a little bit easier for you to enter in on.
Yeah, it feels definitely like it is a fantastic release for Monster Hunter fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the flip side, a release that was for fans and newbies alike that was a huge highlight for me has been Smash Brothers.
Yes. Smash Brothers, it's funny, I consider myself to have beaten Smash Brothers because my only criteria for beating Smash Brothers is unlocking all the characters. I feel like that's a good way to consider having beaten the game. Some people might consider beating the game finishing the World of Light, which I didn't really love.
Which is how I consider it.
Right, which is fine. I'm definitely never going to complete it, I'll tell you right now. I'm never going to get every spirit. I'm never going to play every stage. I'm never going to unlock every combination. Like, I know it won't happen. Maybe over time, but, like, I just can't get that granular with a fighting game like that. But it has been a lot of fun to play, and it is definitely, in my opinion, the best version of Smash Brothers. It is really the ultimate version of Smash Brothers.
I haven't been this excited about playing Smash Brothers since Melee. And I'm not somebody who is like, oh, the purity of Melee is so much better. I cannot wave dash. I barely conceive of it. But Melee was a game that I had in college, And so I just played it single player till I beat everybody's challenge modes. I multiplayered with everybody. I remember just really getting into it. And sure, I like Brawl. I've played Brawl. I've played 4 for both the Wii U and the 3DS. It's not like I went, oh, these are bad games. It was just like, this is the first time I've gotten excited and really just have been playing it to play it, not just, oh, some friends are over and we all like Smash. Like, I am playing it and it feels great.
Yeah, Smash Brothers is a game that I would agree that Melee was the last time like I got really excited to play it with friends and by myself. Brawl I liked, but again, I think I bought Brawl so me and my friends could play it together because couch co-op was still kind of a thing back then.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have a Wii U. I had a 3DS, so I bought the fourth one on the 3DS, and it was fun. But like, I burned out on it really quick because nobody I knew was really playing online on the 3DS. So
Yeah.
like, I could play it by myself, but that's at the end of the day not the only thing Smash Brothers is for. And so at least with Ultimate, like I've been really excited. I see a lot of friends playing online. I have a lot of friends who in the new year have picked up a Switch and Smash Brothers and want to play it online. And so I think this one will definitely be more enjoyable than previous versions have been for me.
Oh, yeah. And certainly right after we got it, we had a whole bunch of friends over and everybody brought their Switch. And I know they're adding better controller support so that if past 4 players, you don't have to use the Joy-Cons.
Right.
But that's what we had at the time. And so we set up a really random rule set. And off we went all day. We were just playing, unlocking characters, and it was fantastic. It was that very like, we're doing the Switch commercial experience.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. When we were at MagFest, I saw so many people playing their Switches and like pretty much being the living embodiment of the Switch commercials. But I, for one, had no desire to just sit down and play. I think it's just because I'd never been to MagFest before, so I wanted to try and do all the things.
Oh, there was so much.
But it was really neat to see people just like in hubs just playing, or like on some of the later nights seeing the staff with a TV in a random hallway playing together while they're watching over the panels or other things that are happening, which I thought was really neat.
Oh yeah, it's been another year of the Switch, certainly for the both of us. I actually got my own Switch this past year because there's been one in the family, and so this one is so I could play it. You know, another game that came out last year that I like, you know what? I have it. And the reason I haven't played it is because my wife hasn't stopped playing it. And that's Octopath Traveler.
Yes. Yeah, another favorite of mine from last year. That's a game that I beat. I didn't complete. There are definitely side missions and other story stuff that I didn't finish, but the main story I completed, and it's probably one of the most remarkable modern RPGs with old school RPG aesthetics. But the great thing about it is, even though at a glance it looks like an old RPG, the expressiveness of the sprites, the textures of the background, and the soundtrack remind you that it's not. That this is not something that could have been made on the Super Nintendo, even though at first glance it looks like it is.
It definitely draws its inspirations from there. Isn't it an Unreal Engine 4?
It is.
So yeah, it's that whole thing of like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. People go, well, why didn't it work on the Saturn? Why didn't it whatever? Because it is technically a 3D game. There's a lot of 3D ideas in it, just with 2D sprites.
Yep.
This is that taken to an even greater extent and with greater returns.
Yeah, it was an incredible game. I had some minor gripes about it, but all in all, it's one of my favorite original properties from Square Enix in a long time.
Which is good, because it's nice when companies you really love are still putting out games you enjoy.
Yes.
Like, I keep forgetting that Konami is just trying to slowly bleed itself dry as far as games go.
Yeah, it's a shame that Symphony of the Night and Dracula X were re-released on just the PlayStation. I get that the PlayStation was the original system that Symphony of the Night was on, so I get wanting to hone in on that.
Yeah, and it was Sony also going, hey, Konami, can we do this?
Right, yeah, I'm sure it wasn't Konami's idea, but it's still a bummer that it's only on the PlayStation because I love Symphony of the Night. I think I still have my PlayStation copy. I have no desire to get another console copy unless it's for the Switch so I can take it with me. Like, I was talking to a friend the other day. They announced all these re-releases and HD re-releases of a bunch of Final Fantasy games that are coming out over the course of 2019.
Yeah.
That announcement was made the day after I bought Final Fantasy X 10-2 HD on Steam. And I was so annoyed because I probably will play it more if I get on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
But I have sworn to myself this year, when Final Fantasy IX comes out on the Switch, I'm buying it because I've tried to play it on console and it just won't hold my attention. But I feel like if I can play it on the go or wherever I want, I'll play the game. It's not that the game is bad. It's just when I'm sitting at my PS4 or on my computer, it's like, well, I could play that, or I could play the other 30 newer games that I haven't finished yet, you know?
Final Fantasy IX is definitely one of the better made Final Fantasies, but it doesn't quite have the usual, certainly not the PS1, PS2 era wow factor, or let's draw you in on this. It's just like, please stick around. I promise you'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and it's going to take a lot of self-control to not buy 7 on the Switch, not because I need another copy of 7 since I have it on the computer and on the PlayStation 1 already. But being able to play 7 on the go is kind of like, it's like I've bought Chrono Trigger 8 times because anywhere I can play it, I want to play it. And the most recent way I bought it was, of course, on the DS when it came out, so I could play it portably. And so I feel like 7, since it's up there, is one of my favorites. It's going to be hard not to buy on the Switch.
Some games are like that. They're just the game that you own several times over.
Yeah.
Look, someone has their favorite movie. They had it on VHS, then on DVD, then on Blu-ray. Sometimes this is what we do to keep having our favorite experiences in modern technology.
Yeah, speaking to that also, actually, last year was a big year for Mega Man, as well as both the Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2 and Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2 both came out on all the platforms, but especially on the Switch for me, where I played X Legacy Collection 1 is the only one I picked up. And then, of course, he got a brand new game with Mega Man 11, which we discussed at length with Case on our episode last year. But that was another surprise for me because I remember playing the Mega Man 11 demo, I think on the PS4, and not really liking it. I just wasn't into it. There was something about it. But I still wanted to play the full game because it was getting great reviews, and so I got it as a gift, and I loved it, and I beat the hell out of it. And I hope to go back and play it again soon if I ever have some downtime from the other thousands of games I'm trying to play.
Yeah.
But I was really happy to see Mega Man make a comeback. Because I've always been a longtime Mega Man fan, and the new take with Mega Man 11 last year was not so far-fetched from his previous experience that I feel like diehard fans would be like, oh, that's not Mega Man. Like, I think it was pretty well catered to old school fans and people who might want to start new with the series.
Very cool. And I mean, that's one I haven't played yet, but I'll get around to it. I don't own it yet.
Something I realized in 2018 is that it's impossible to play everything.
Unless it is your job to play it and review it and do it.
Right.
It's impossible to play everything. And there's all kinds of wonderful indie games that come out that don't get a huge amount of fanfare. That, even though big AAA releases, yes, I'm sure Red Dead Redemption 2 is a very transcendent Barbie Cowboy Adventures open world game. But and look, Spider-Man is a fantastic game. But you do get games like Celeste and The Messenger that those fortunately had a nice little push and a couple of people picked up on them. But what else has fallen through the cracks, and what else is adding to that huge number of games that come out every year? It is easy to become overwhelmed. And then you have your backlog, which we've discussed at length.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Like, a lot of the games I beat this year are games that came out 20 years or more ago. Because I hadn't beaten them yet, I'm beating them now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the oldest game that I played last year that I still haven't beaten, that I will hopefully beat soon, is Final Fantasy VI, which I'd never played before last year, which is considered to be one of the best, if not the best, Final Fantasy game. And I loved it. I just hit a wall where I got to a place where I needed to grind to move on, and I lost interest. And I'll hopefully go back to it at some point, but that's easily one of the oldest games that I played last year.
I definitely, one thing, awesome on Final Fantasy. I mean, Final Fantasy VI, yes, it is a classic.
Yes.
And Yeah, a lot of the games that I went at were old Game Boy games that they're just like, look, I commute all the time. Batteries last, a Game Boy Color's battery lasts for forever. Let's see how far I go. Let me finally beat Adventure Island. It has a password system. Let me see this. That kind of a thing. So yeah, I hear you on the going back, and I gotta play through the Final Fantasy Game Boy games. I have a couple of them.
Were those any good?
They're they're not Final Fantasy games, but they're pretty good. They're early Seiken Densetsu games, the Secret of Mana style stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of party building, a little bit of who you hire, don't hire. It's kind of reminiscent of Dragon Warrior 3 in that way, Dragon Quest 3, depending upon region. It's
Gotcha.
it's one of those where it's a little odd trying to make an RPG work in that sort of limited capacity, especially if you didn't have an instruction manual at the time, which I don't. So it's a little bit of referencing online resources so I get a better idea of how the game works,
Right.
which is sort of where I'm at with that. And again, I want to try to understand these older games that I have copies of while also trying to play newer games.
Yeah, I mean, again, the majority of the games on my list are not games that came out last year, except for some of the Switch titles, because technically they are new to the Switch last year. But like, Ukulele was not a new game when I played it. It was new to the Switch. It had just come out. I was holding out for it to come out on the Switch, but it had been out a while already. I played Shovel Knight for the first time 2 years ago, and then I finally beat Spectre of Torment last year, which was not new either. I started the second South Park game, The Fractured But Whole, last year, which is also not new. I just waited for a Steam sale. Persona 5 wasn't new to last year. There's a ton of games. Undertale. I beat Undertale for the first time last year. And that game had been out for, 2 years at that point, I think?
I think so, yeah.
But I got it on the Switch on sale, and I loved it. And I'm still going to go back to that. It'll probably end up on my list for 2019. I think it's funny that, the majority of the brand new games that I played last year were Switch titles, and only half of those Switch titles were truly new games. Like Smash Brothers was truly new, Let's Go Pikachu was truly new, The Messenger, Mega Man 11.
Did you play Mario Party?
I didn't get to play Mario Party at all last year. I wanted to. I've heard good things about it.
I've been playing a good amount of it. It is a lot of fun. I have not been an avid follower of the Mario Party series, but I've definitely put some time in on a bunch of the entries. And this is a very clean experience. It's got a lot of great mini games. It really makes use of that whole all right, no matter what, you can have two players if you have a Switch. So Sarah and I, we took a train to and from DC when we went to MagFest.
Right.
We definitely played at least a round of Super Mario Party while we were doing that. Christmas time, we both brought our Switches so we could do 4-player Mario Party with my family. And it's a good experience. It's fun because the Switch is, that pseudo portable. It doesn't drag on, or it certainly doesn't seem to. And they added a lot of really fun new mechanics. It's a good time.
Yeah, I've been a fan of the Mario Party series. I think I dropped off around the Wii time because that's when they started to not be great. But I loved most of the N64 entries in the series. Of course, a very common opinion that Mario Party 2 is the best of the bunch. But yeah, I fell off, and I think they released a Mario Party on the 3DS, which was not good. It was supposed to be like a greatest hits, which I never played.
The top 100,
Yeah.
I haven't played it either. It's just a minigame collection.
Yeah, but I've been hearing great things about Super Mario Party, though I don't know if I'll purchase it because I found out very recently that my spouse isn't super into Mario at all, which is fine. I mean, I don't, she doesn't have to like the things that I like, but it was surprising that she wasn't interested in Mario Party because it was a multiplayer board game style thing, which we are avid board game players.
Right.
I think maybe if she tried it, she'd like it, but then again, it's
Why buy it if to test that?
Right, and also because I'm not going to play it by myself, and catch co-op is not really a thing that happens anymore these days. Not often, anyway. But it's actually, that was very interesting to me that she's like, yeah, I just have never been into Mario or the Mario Brothers characters. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. And I was like, thinking about it now, that makes a lot of sense. If you're a modern gamer or someone who didn't play gaming your whole life, there is not a lot to love about the Mario Brother universe. It's pretty boring and straightforward. I think a lot of the reason that we as gamers really like Mario still is because we've been playing all of these different Mario games over the years.
Yeah, on the flip side, my wife loves Mario. Like, it's not like we have to get every single game that Mario is in, but she has played every Mario and Luigi game. She is currently playing through Color Splash Paper Mario. And as much as some people have dunked on that game or been like, that's not that great, she is loving it.
I think that the people who are being hard on those Mario games are just, they're expecting a level of quality from Paper Mario that we haven't really gotten since Thousand Year Door, which is fair. But like I played Sticker Star Saga, I think it was called, the one on the 3DS.
On the 3DS.
And I didn't finish it, but what I played, I really liked. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. Like, it wasn't really much of a disappointment to me. I unfortunately never played Bowser's Inside Story, which was the last Mario and Luigi game to come out on the 3DS, but I've heard good things about that too. I think that a part of what makes it hard for certain people to enjoy certain games is the expectation in comparison to older games. I love the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, which I played for the first time last year because I waited for it to come out on the Switch. And I still say that the Spyro collection will eventually come on Switch, which is why I haven't bought it yet. Because they said they were never going to put the Insane trilogy on Switch either, and here we are.
Yeah, right.
And so while I believe you, Toys for Bob, I don't believe you. But yeah, and the Crash Bandicoot series, like a lot of people, their favorite one is the second game or the third game. I happen to really, at least on the Insane trilogy, really like the first game. And it could be just because the controls are better and the graphics are better, but like I think the first game might be my favorite. But again, I'm not super familiar with the original trilogy. I played a little bit of 1 and 2, but I definitely never beat those games back on the PlayStation and PlayStation 2. So I think that it's perfectly normal for people to like games that others didn't just because their expectations might be a little lower.
Oh, exactly. And so Sarah's kind of running into that too with Yooka-Laylee has a physical release on the Switch, but we have to order it through Best Buy.
Yeah.
And the 3D Collectathons is a genre, a period, a whatever of gaming that she adores. She has absolute nostalgia love for DK64, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. We're waiting for Spyro Reignited to come out on the Switch because I remember telling her, you will like Crash Bandicoot, you will love Spyro.
Spyro is the better series, if you ask me as well. And I've have very limited experience with it. I think I maybe only played a stage or two of the first game, but I would agree to that. It's funny, me and Sarah actually spoke about Yooka-Laylee a little bit because she was asking me about it because I have it. And I'm saying, like, look, you'll love it. Is it a great game? I'd say probably not. It's a good game, though. Like, the problem with Yooka-Laylee is the controls are fairly stiff. Once you adjust to them, it doesn't matter, because once you've adjusted to them, you can play the game just fine. But there's a learning curve. But once you get past that, it's a fun game. Like, I told her, did you care about the stories in DK64 Banjo-Kazooie? She went, no. I was like, great. Then you'll like Yooka-Laylee, because the story also barely makes sense and is unnecessary, but the game is fun.
Well, the funny thing she ran into was when we order things from Best Buy, one of Sarah's coworkers has the Best Buy rewards or the video. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like the membership that also gets you 20% off new titles.
Yeah.
So very often we've ordered our new Switch games several times through her coworker. That's how we got Odyssey. That is how we got Smash Brothers. That is how we got Octopath Traveler. And a few days ago, she mentioned to him, like, hey, do you mind ordering Yooka-Laylee and I'll pay you back? And he went, don't order it. It's a bad game. And that was like on Friday. So I think after this weekend, she's going to go be like, no, I insist. Please. I welcome the consequences.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't agree that it's a bad game. I think just it does. I think I think our memory, and we've talked about this before, our memory paints a less clear picture of what was great than reality a little bit. Like we
Mm-hmm.
fantasize a little bit about how great older games were. And while I'm sure if I got my hands on Banjo-Kazooie again, which I really want to because I've been wanting to replay it, I'm sure it won't live up to what I thought it was, but I'm sure I'll still enjoy it. I
Yeah.
think that's part of the problem with a lot of 3D collectathons is that they they only hold up to our image of it, but not necessarily always the actuality. That said, and I'm still holding out for it because it hasn't come out yet on the Switch, but A Hat in Time is supposed to be phenomenal and is actually supposed to be have tighter controls than Ukulele, and that's another
Yeah.
3D collectathon that I really want to play. But again, it's not on the Switch yet. They keep saying it's coming, and so I really want to hold out until it comes out on the Switch.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. And yeah, that came out around the same time, or it feels like it came out around the same time as Ukulele. So it wasn't just a Ukulele's not a great game. It's, well, we've got this better game that's trying to do the same thing
Yeah,
with hats.
with hats and time and the mob, apparently.
Yeah, all that good stuff. You know, hat-based platformers are in, kids.
Yeah, apparently. It's funny, actually, looking at my list of games, I played a lot more action RPGs and action platformers than I thought I did. Between Bloodstained and Shovel Knight and The Messenger and Mega Man, like
Nice.
I always know that's like the type of gaming I lean towards the most. Like I tend to like platformers best, but it just didn't really dawn on me until I started looking at everything I played. Oh, and I played Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate HD, which is the re-release on Steam of the 3DS game, which is also a side-scrolling action platformer.
Oh, yeah, I never got to play that one. I heard I mean, it was certainly a lot better than Lords of Shadow 2.
Yes. So I in the first Steam sale of 2018 bought all of the Lords of Shadow stuff because it was all on sale and I'd always wanted to play it. So I bought Lords of Shadow Ultimate, Mirror of Fate, and the Lords of Shadow 2. I beat Lords of Shadow 1 and Mirror of Fate. They were good games. They weren't great, but like the story was interesting enough that
Right.
I wanted to play it. And the retelling of Castlevania, like, I don't care that they made changes. I just wanted to play a good game. And so I had fun with it. Lords of Shadow 2, I tried. I beat my head against that wall for weeks trying to progress in that game, but it's just not good. It's just not a good game. The story changed, like, so the story takes place in modern day. You're still, spoiler alert, Gabriel as Dracula, and you're trying to stop like the second coming of the devil or something, and it gets so convoluted and boring, and there are forced stealth sections, and it was a
That
mess.
that is a shame.
Yeah, I thought that the series might have had some potential after playing the first two, but of course, knowing now what I know now, that they haven't released another Lords of Shadow game in a long time, that it clearly didn't do very well. But I still recommend, if you can get past the story changes and don't care about that, I recommend Lords of Shadow 1 and Mirror of Fate. I think they're both really fun, fantastic games.
Yeah, I got Lords of Shadow for the PS3 this year because I got a PS3 this year. Unfortunately, my disk drive has kind of gone kaput, so I got to replace it. But I'm excited to give it a try.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I think if you're a Castlevania fan and you like the God of War, Devil May Cry style like action games,
Yeah.
it's worth playing. It's not awful. Another game that I don't even think I put on my list, I don't see it, but I know I played last year, was I replayed Devil May Cry 4 in anticipation for Devil May Cry 5, which comes out this year. And I have to say, still a fantastic game. Now that I have had distance from Dante being my favorite character in gaming, because he's not as much anymore. Whatever.
Right.
I was young. I was a goth. I didn't know any better.
It's all good, yeah.
Nero is actually a better made character who's more fun to play. On this playthrough, playing through the game, when I had just force switched to Dante because Nero was incapacitated due to story stuff, I actually was like, oh, this isn't as much fun. Can I have Nero back? Which I never thought I'd say. So anyway, I'm really excited about the fifth one because there are two new characters, Nero, who's not super new, and then a third new character. And so I'm interested to see how the different game dynamics work now that it's been so long between the games and I'm not so precious about a specific style of play. I'm actually curious to see how 5 does everything. But yeah, it was really fun to replay through Devil May Cry 4 because I realized, in fact, how little the story A made sense and B mattered, and that it was just
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous and fun.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, I pay attention to the story in Diablo a little.
Yeah, but it's definitely not the point of Diablo.
It is not the point of Diablo. It drives Diablo forward. And I was happy to. I started the year beating Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition on the 360. I ended the year playing Diablo 3 Eternal Collection on the Nintendo Switch.
Nice. How is the Switch version?
It is so good. Getting to take it everywhere feels great. I never got the Rise of the Necromancer expansion, so I can't necessarily compare how it was console only versus portable console.
Right.
And I never played it on PC. So, I'm clearly not a real Diablo gamer.
It's funny to me how that is such an incredible minority thing that most people play Blizzard games on the PC, and that you're this kind of anomaly that you've only played the Diablo games on console. I think is hilarious.
Well, I played Diablo 2 on the PC.
Oh, you did? Okay.
That's the only way you can play it.
Really? Oh, that one never came out on console?
That one never came out on console. Diablo 1 and 3 were the ones that did it. And, well, Diablo 1 didn't really have as much online content. It had you can go online. And I played Diablo on the PC before, and it's definitely a different experience, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But Diablo 3, you've now got seasons, you've got the whole churning and constancy of the Blizzard Activision style going on.
Right.
And I've been really enjoying playing Diablo 3 on the Switch. I did a run through of the Wizard again. I've started a Necromancer playthrough. Oh man, it's fun.
Yeah, I keep being tempted to buy it, but I play the PC version so little with other people now that I'm just afraid I'll never play it multiplayer, except obviously with you. If I had it, I know we'd play it together.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think if it ever goes on deep discount on the Switch, they sell it for $20, I'll probably pick it up.
I managed to get it for $30. And I feel really bad because my brother listens to this podcast and he heard me talking about man, I really want to get it. And so he got it for me for Christmas.
Aww.
And I'd already gotten it on deep discount. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry.
Well, it just goes to show you, Geoff's brother, you can't buy games based on what we say on this podcast.
Sorry, Chris. Well, on the flip side of things, and this was a hilarious, awesome gaming moment that I do want to share. And thank you, Chris. He had gotten me 2 games for Christmas, and he wrote something old and something new on them. Something new is Diablo 3, and something old was a complete in-box copy of the original Final Fantasy.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about this on the podcast. It has a 84-page instruction manual. It has 2 fold-out charts with different things on each side, with maps and breakdowns of equipment, and it runs beautifully on my NES. I'm waiting to start a playthrough for when Sarah wants to try it.
Right.
But we talked about it a few days ago, and I'm like, I think I'm just going to do a playthrough for me. I need to beat this game again.
That's really awesome. Remember when games used to come with stuff?
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that,
yeah,
and we'll continue to talk about it.
Well, what's funny is, I used to be the collector's edition guy. If whatever game had a collector's edition, I had to buy it because I wanted the art book or the soundtrack or the free Batarang that was actually plastic, and I was really pissed off about because I thought it was a metal Batarang, but that's another story.
We all were.
But yeah, I don't care about that anymore. I just want to play the game. And I didn't think I'd ever get to that point, but I think part of it is also my space has become so limited for collecting things, and I've had to make choices about what I collect that I don't want the fake plastic piece of junk that comes with the game. If there's great digital content, awesome. If there's a cool statue that I can put somewhere, fine. But a lot of games now come with junk that's not really worth it. That seemed like it was worth it back in the day.
Oh, yeah, you're like, well, I need all of this. This either will make me money or just deepen the experience or show what a true fan I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I've doubled down on collecting video games.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
So I don't push that agenda on anybody else. If everybody else wants to just do digital games from now on, I'm not going to sit here and go, you're ruining the hobby and you're doing terrible things. It's like, whatever. Like, I have some digital games. I got Hollow Knight this year. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
These things happen, but it is what it is. And I mean, yeah, that allows you to have some pretty sweet amiibos. I don't have any amiibos.
Yeah, I wish that they were more than just sweet things to look at, though. Like they are sort of useful, like in certain, like in what was it, Mario Odyssey? Any and all amiibos can help you find secrets in the game or give you health back or coins or whatever else. Like it's useful, but like they're more for me to collect them than to use them on the Switch, which I've come to terms with and is fine. But also they take up less space than giant boxes and huge statues and all of that. And also, I think what's fun about having you as a friend who collects games, it's more fun for me to find stuff, either my old stuff that I'm getting rid of, or when I'm out and about looking at stuff and going, oh, I wonder if Geoff and Sarah have that. I should see. Like, that's more fun for me because I'm then egging on your collection without having to take up space in my own home.
I'm happy to be the vicarious collection for people.
Yeah. I think it's also funny. Like we talked about this on our Magfest episode, but watching you and Sarah scour old games and like planning and discussing, it was really fun to be an observer of.
Oh yeah, no, it was. Well, thank you. It was. I'm happy we got to share that with you. It was a lot of fun, and I mean, we definitely got a couple of collector's edition-y kind of things this year. Like, I grabbed the day one limited edition release of Shantae Half Genie Hero for the Switch.
That's a smart move. I still don't have any of those games, and I really want them. They're on my wish list because
they're good games.
As we discussed, I am obsessed with side-scrolling platformers, and they seem to be my preference. So any game I can play that's good in that genre, I want to play.
As does Sarah, and she... a few days ago, when we were playing Color Splash, she just kind of had a moment and went, I think my favorite genre is puzzle platformers. So even something like Shantae kind of leans into that a bit.
Yeah.
She hadn't played any of the Shantae games. Had heard me talking about them. I had already beaten Pirate's Curse and loved it. And the day one edition came with a soundtrack CD, and the box wasn't that much bigger, and it was just regular retail price.
Right.
Because it's a mostly digital game. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll get that. And so, yeah, both Sarah and I have beaten that. And it came with all of the DLC, so we beat the modes. And, and it doesn't take up that much more space on my shelf, but it's nice to have.
Sure, of course. And I think that's what it'll come down to in the future for collector's editions, is if there's a game that I really want what the physical collector's edition has to offer, I'll probably buy it. I mean, like, if BioWare ever makes another Mass Effect game, the odds that's good. The odds of me not buying a collector's edition of it is slim, but we'll cross that bridge if we ever get to it. Since the next Dragon Age isn't coming out till like 2020, so clearly it's going to be a while to play anything besides Anthem by BioWare, which is what it is.
Right. But on the flip side of things, there's ones where I look at it and I go, I don't know if I can justify this. Speaking of Persona, that's a series that's another of I know I'll enjoy it once I start playing it. I need to start playing it.
Yes. The good thing about Persona is it's like Final Fantasy. Like, you don't have to play the previous ones to play the new one.
Right. But I've got a recommended order that I want to follow, and it starts with 3.
Okay.
And because there was a definite difference between 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5. And they are isolated stories, of course, but there's improvements, and there's like, this is a cool story, and that's a cool story. So those are the ones recommended to me. And I have Persona 4 Golden for the Vita, and I also have Persona 4 Dancing All Night, because I love rhythm games. This past year, they came out with Persona 3 and Persona 5 dancing games, Dancing in Starlight, Dancing in Moonlight, for the PS4. They have it for the Vita, but Japanese only, so I'd have to import it if I want the physical release. Actually, I think they released it digitally as well, but they also released an Endless Night collection, which is Persona 3, Dancing in Starlight, Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Persona 5 Dancing in Moonlight, physically for the PS4.
Huh.
There's no physical release of Dancing All Night, but it's physical of the other two. Plus, it has, I think, like soundtrack CDs and a couple bonus things. It's $100,
Oh, wow.
which in the grand scheme of things isn't a huge amount. It's an amount.
Right.
But I also haven't played through those games yet, so I won't get all the references. But I will play through them eventually. You see the conundrum.
Yeah. Yeah, justifying purchases is tough. Like, there are some that stuff that I've put on my wish list for my Switch that I may never buy, but like I kind of want, and so I want them on that list just so I remember it's a thing that I want. Like I've been putting off buying the re-release of Doom for a long time, and I've wanted to play it. Like I loved the original Doom games and Ultimate Doom and Doom 2. Like, once they got to like Doom 3 and Doom 4, I didn't care about the survival horror direction it took, but the newer Doom and Wolfenstein games are back to more action-oriented games, action-oriented shooters, and so I want to play them, and so they're forever on my list, and I feel like if I'm going to buy them on anything, I should buy them on the Switch because then I can play them on the go, but I just haven't I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But they're there, and I remember that they're there. I just haven't done it yet. I think at the end of the day, my Switch library is going to end up like my Steam library. Like eventually, I'm just going to be buying stuff on sale because it's on sale, and how can I not? And then I'll eventually get to it.
No, that's fair. I got a gaming PC towards the end of last year that I need to finish setting up. And once I do, part of me was like, all right, now I'm really going to start going through my Steam library. Maybe I will.
Yeah. You're saying that to a guy who bought 4 more games this last Steam sale and has played one of them. And I might play more of them before my panel for Dark Side of the Con because they're vampire related, but I also may not. Yeah, it's. I try not to think too hard about my backlog. It becomes overwhelming.
That's fair.
But I do want to take a moment for us to discuss our favorite gaming experience of 2018. Because for you, it might be an older game. As I've said before in brief or on other podcasts, my favorite game of 2018 was Spider-Man for PS4. There are close, runner-ups to it, like The Messenger and Undertale and several other games. But Spider-Man PS4 was a game that I couldn't put down, had some of the best story writing in a superhero game I've ever played. The only thing that comes close to story writing at all last year was Enter the Spider-Verse, which I'd say is about even for me with PS4 as far as the best Spider-Man media ever. But the controls were tight, the gameplay felt natural, the story had an incredible progression. Like easily my favorite game of the year. Even if you're a casual Spider-Man fan who doesn't really know the pantheon of Spider-Man, you can easily pick up this game like Spider-Verse in the movies and understand what's going on and play the game. There's no barrier for entry if you're not a huge Spider-Man fan. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I've definitely been enjoying watching friends of mine, both diehard Spider-Man fans and ones who are aware that he exists, both love the game. I don't have my copy. I don't have a copy right now. A copy was brought over for game night one week. And so I got to play like the first, 45 minutes or an hour before I had to start making dinner. But that first experience of web slinging, I was giggling.
Yeah, it's unlike anything else in gaming that I've experienced as a Spider-Man fan, because like in this game, it feels like you expect it to feel, and it's perfectly natural.
Yeah, you really get into the habit of it quickly. The learning curve is so small, so quick, and then before you know it, you're doing all kinds of crazy things. And even those times when you screw up, you just kind of roll with it.
Yeah, totally. His recovery is really great.
Yeah, and you can also just feel like, I screwed up. Whatever. I'm Spider-Man. That's what happens. It's all good. I'm not sure exactly what my big gaming moment was. I mean, certainly getting to do that for the first time was fantastic. Getting to play Katamari Damacy on the go I've played me and my Katamari on my Vita a bunch, but this was a ground up meant to be for the Switch. Felt pretty good. Like it was, I had those same feelings of wonder and joy that I do every time I play through the original Katamari. That feeling of scale shifting and outgrowing where you are, and the things that were kicking you around and knocking items off of your Katamari before are now such an easy thing to roll up. When you first get big enough to roll up trees is always a delight for me because then you just wreck house.
Yeah, Katamari is always a game that I've played and liked from the sidelines and like to watch other people enjoy, but it's just
Mhm.
not a game for me. I get the appeal of it. It's not a thing that I tried playing, I think, whatever the more recent Xbox 360 one was, is the one I tried to play. And
Beautiful Katamari.
yeah,
It's not that great.
yeah, and I didn't love it. There's part of me that thinks I might enjoy the re-release of the original more, and I'd be willing to try it, but I don't know that I'd go out of my way to buy it yet. But that said, like watching people play it, like it's fascinating. It's a fascinating game to watch.
Yeah, it's an experience and it's a unique one. I know Donut Country came out, or Donut County came out this year, and I haven't played that yet. And there's there's some comparisons to Katamari Damacy that goes on there, but it also has a lot of deeper messages and meanings. And I kind of want to dive into it and give it a try. I think early 2019 is going to be trying to play some 2018 catch up. It's just how it is for me.
Yeah, I mean that's more or less how my years go. Like I said, the number of games that I bought that were brand new last year were very minimal, and like even this year, like the top games that I want are like I want the re-release of New Super Mario Brothers U on the Switch. I'm excited for
Mhm.
the new Yoshi game coming out in March and things like that. But a lot of these games are not coming out for the Switch; are still not brand new games. But I'm kind of okay with that since I missed them the first time around anyway.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing, you can still catch a second wave on this. And definitely Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has been a fantastic experience for the small portion of the year that it's been out.
Yeah,
It has been wonderful.
there's literally zero disappointment with that game. It's everything I wanted it to be. I love the new characters. I love the gameplay. Uh, I love the modes. World of Light is not my favorite thing, but I'll go back to it eventually. But that said, the
Yeah.
game is still tight as hell.
Yeah, it has felt so good to smash again
Yes. Yes, it has.
and to have so many people excited about it. And there is, as a retro collector, there's that thing of I'm super excited about this game. Everyone was excited about it 12 years ago. Cool. It feels great to have a game to be excited about that so many other people are excited about too.
Yeah, for sure.
So Smash is also up there. It might all that may contend for my favorite gaming moment. Just turning that on for the first time and just getting to I think getting to play Smash with like 7 other friends,
yeah.
and we were all just kind of we weren't all playing at the same time. We'd all kind of rotate, break off in groups, but we had 8-player Smash going, and we'd have CPU characters happening. We were unlocking stuff. That that day might actually be my favorite gaming moment of 2018.
That's fair. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I would say that the limited but exuberant amount of co-op I've gotten to do in Smash Brothers Ultimate has been great. And playing 8-player Smash Brothers at that point is not even a fight; it's more just chaos, but it's still fun as hell.
Oh yeah. I can't remember which mode it is. There's one where it's a tournament, but every character can only be selected once.
Oh yes, I forget what it's called also, but yeah, that was really awesome. I got to play that with a bunch of friends, especially considering when someone picks your character that you love and like they win as that character. You're like, damn it, now I can't play that character.
Yeah, and you want to try to like pick characters you're good with on the right fight. And other times you just want to do throwaway choices.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're like, oh man, they main Samus. I can't mess with that. I guess I'll be Wario today.
Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, and then you try out new characters.
Yeah, I would agree that Smash Brothers has been a lot of fun to play last year, and I'm looking forward to doing more online multiplayer and couch co-op in 2019.
Agreed.
Please, as always, listener, let us know what your top gaming moments, or if you have a game of the year that you want to proclaim, please do. I don't think there are wrong choices for game of the year, because at the end of the day, your game of the year is going to be the game that meant the most to you, not necessarily the technical or graphical or control best game. It's just whatever was most important to you. Tons of people said God of War was their favorite game because that was the game that meant something the most to them. Spider-Man was mine because of how it made me feel, you know? So let us know what your game of the year was. Let us know what your highlights of 2018 gaming were. I'm excited for what's to come in 2019. There are a lot of great games. Supposedly, by the time you hear this episode, we should all be gearing up to play Kingdom Hearts 3, but I'll believe that when it actually is released and I have it in my hands because it's Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, I'm going to get it when it comes out. I still need to catch up on the story by playing through 1.5, 2.5, 2.8. I'm going to play them all. So I'll get it, and then I'll probably play it at the beginning of next year.
Probably.
But yes, please let us know what your favorites were, what your thoughts on the highs and lows of gaming this year. We didn't talk too much about gaming news, but there's been some big stuff, and we want to know what you think. We won't judge your choice of Fallout 76 too hard if that was your favorite game.
Yeah, I mean, I won't judge you, but I might feel sorry for you, though. Oh, and before
we'd love to know why you like it.
Right, absolutely. And supposedly they have big changes for it coming. So, yeah, definitely tell us what you think of it and why you do like it if you do like it.
Dynamic experience.
Totally. I do want to make one quick announcement. We have big news. Another new podcast is joining the Certain Point of View family. My other podcast, Screen Snark, which I host with Rachel Quirky Shank, is a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. We talk about recent movies we've seen with a guest and then interview that guest, usually talk about how movies have influenced their career. That is joining the network. All of the episodes should be on certainpov.com. You can also look up Screen Snark on Facebook to find links to the show there as well. I'm super excited to have Rachel join the network and to have another one of my shows under one roof. It's less work for me.
Yeah, right. It's a nice thing. And I definitely am happy that Screen Snark is part of the network now. If you haven't yet, please check it out. It's really great stuff. I mean, we know how Matt is, and Rachel is delightful as well.
Yes, I would say she is definitely the better host on that show, but definitely go check it out.
Yeah, no, and it's another piece of the conversation.
Correct.
And we like having this show be a conversation with all of you. Thank you for keeping the conversation going. I'm Geoff Moonen.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And happy gaming.